So in this video today guys, I'm going to showcase the best competitive settings in Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 2 that I found from checking out what all the pros have been using in this brand new season. These settings guys will definitely increase your FPS, will give you the lowest amount of input delay, and will also give you a ton of secret advantages that will literally turn you into a pro. So guys, if this video does help you out, which I'm sure it will, be sure to leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and also be sure to use Codelife in the Fortnite item shop. Now let's go ahead and get straight into the video settings first. Windowed mode. You want to set this to full screen, as full screen provides the lowest amount of input delay when compared to the rest of these options. Resolution, you should use either the native 1920 by 1080 or a stretched resolution. 1920 by 1080 will give you HD quality and the most FOV possible, but will cost you some extra FPS, as there's obviously more pixels on the screen to be rendered. Stretched resolutions on the other hand will give you much lower FPS, as there's less pixels to be displayed, but they'll also increase the player model sizes, which can be advantageous for aim. But it does come at one disadvantage: the stretched resolutions are obviously very low quality. Below you go down, so things like 1750 by 1080, 1656 by 1080, or even 1400 by 1050. Below you go down, the more stretched it'll become, the less FOV you'll get and the less quality you'll get as well, but you will get more FPS. Depending on what tier your PC is, I think the higher end PCs that don't need the FPS boost should definitely use 1920 by 1080, but for the low end PCs that do need the FPS boost, I would recommend trying a stretched resolution. Frame rate limit, use unlimited FPS or cap your FPS to your monitor's refresh rate. Also for G-Sync or FreeSync monitors, I highly recommend using these specific caps. For 144Hz monitors, you should cap it at 141 FPS. For 240Hz monitors, you should cap it at 237 FPS. And for 360Hz monitors, you should cap it at 357 FPS. You can do this by going into the in-game config. Also, by capping your FPS to your monitor's hertz, this will also reduce any sort of screen tearing that could occur in Fortnite. Brightness, I recommend using the default 100% or even a high one to give you more visibility in dark and day cycles. User interface contrast doesn't really matter. This can be on whatever you want. It just changes the way your setting menu looks like, as you can see here. Colorblind mode, here's what all 4 different colorblind modes look like, including having it off. Whichever one looks best for you is the one you should use. I know most pros right now are actually choosing to use it off, but I personally really like the look of Triton Up. I really like how it looks in grassy areas mainly. It really makes enemies stand out and it just makes them easier to spot overall. But for you guys, when looking at all 4 of them here, including having it off, you need to decide which one looks best for you, and that's the one that you should use. 3D resolution, some players have this turned down slightly to around 90% or even 80% to give them some extra frames, as you're literally reducing your pixels on screen, which does in turn obviously increase your FPS. But if you do choose to use like 90% or even 80%, do know guys that this will make your game more pixelated and it'll look like this on screen. I myself, I recommend using 100%, but if you are desperate for more FPS, you can try 90%. For me, I really like 100%. View distance, for this you can use either near or medium. Near will limit how far you can see loot and builds, but it does grant you the most FPS possible, whereas with medium view distance, this allows you to see loot and builds that are very far, and you can actually mark them / shoot at them. If you go any further than this, say like far view distance or epic, you can see them, but you're not able to mark or shoot them, because Fortnite have actually capped it to around 280 meters. So because of that, medium is the perfect one to use. Shadows and anti-aliasing both should be turned off, as they do lower your FPS, as you can see on screen right here. Textures should be on low or medium, depending on what GPU you have. If you've got a high GPU or graphics card, you should honestly try out medium, because you could see some higher frame rates like I've been getting when I turned it to medium. For me guys, I'm using a GTX 1080 Ti, and I found that I get more FPS on medium than I do on low. But that could just be for me and my GPU. For you guys, I recommend at least trying it out, and if it doesn't work out, just go back to low on textures and you'll be good to go. Effects and post-processing should both be off, as these again will lower your FPS, as you can see on screen right here. V-Sync and motion blur, again, turn these off, as for one, they don't really look good, as you can see on screen, and they also lower your FPS. Allow multi-threaded rendering should be turned on if your CPU or processor has at least 4 cores or more, which it should if it's been made or manufactured in the last 10 years. If it hasn't and it is an older CPU or processor, you probably should turn this one off. But I imagine for most of you guys out there, or girls, you should definitely turn on allow multi-threaded rendering. Rendering mode, for this I highly recommend using using performance mode on either the low or high meshes option. Low meshes look like this. You can see they're a lot more pixelated and a lot more low quality, whereas high meshes look like this. When comparing the two, low meshes does give you more FPS as you'd imagine, so I recommend using that one. But before you guys do go ahead and switch over to performance mode, what you want to do is you want to quickly turn on NVIDIA Reflex low latency mode on either the on mode or the on plus boost mode. Whichever one works best for you is the one you should choose, but if you haven't heard about this guys, it basically lowers your latency in Fortnite a ton, and you definitely want to use either on or on plus boost. After choosing whichever one you want though, you want to go ahead, save your game, then restart it, and once it has opened back up, you want to choose the performance mode rendering mode, and you want to make sure that low meshes is turned on and make sure everything is saved. Then you want to go into your game settings tab. In here you want to make sure auto open doors is turned on, as this will allow you to easily walk through doors if you accidentally edit them while free building. Just underneath auto open doors you'll see the mantle activation keybind. Hold forward is the first option, and this means to actually jump onto a ledge you need to hold the forward button as well as press jump. And then for option 2, this you don't have to hold forward, instead you need to double jump. Disable pre-edits, this can be on or off. Off will give you more advantage in build fight as you can bait enemies out like Martos does right here, or it can be turned on, which will obviously disable pre-edits, so you can't do this sort of stuff, but it will disable pre-edits, which can be a bit annoying. It's all personal preference. Confirm edit on release, this will automatically confirm an edit action when you press an edit. This again is one of those very debatable settings. You've got some pros like Mongrel who just do not use it at all and have it completely turned off and seem to be doing very well with it, but on the other hand you've got pros like Bugger who have it turned on and also seem to be doing very well with it. So whichever you choose guys, it's all personal preference. I recommend trying out both and seeing which one works best for you. Next we've got the game UI tab. In here we're going to go ahead and declutter the HUD but keep all the important stuff. Firstly we've got the HUD scale. For this you should use between 60% and 80% to give your screen more visibility. I personally recommend 80%. Show spectator count, you want to have this turned off. Map and backpack keys, you want to have that turned off. Latency debug stats off. Quest progress off. Control prompts off, run real-time performance stats off, and that's about it. All the rest you want to keep on as they're pretty important. Next we've got mouse sensitivity. For the X and Y sensitivity, I recommend using between 5.8% to 9% on 800 mouse DPI, as well as 6 out of 11 in the Windows sensitivity, so the default one if you aren't already on that, with mouse acceleration turned off by the way. As for the targeting and scope sensitivities, I recommend using between 35% to 60 or even 70%, whichever feels best between those for you. The reason why I recommend all of these sensitivities right here as well as a mouse DPI is because these range between a medium/low to a high sensitivity, and if you play it and try different sensitivities between these brackets right here, I think you'll find your godsend. Also, if you guys are wondering what exactly your sensitivity is it a low, is it a medium, or is it a high, I recommend going over to my website, which is gamesettings.com, and this is where you'll find an eDPI calculator. Just simply input your current sensitivity, your mouse DPI, and it'll output your mouse eDPI, which is your true sensitivity, and you'll see on the graph right there where you actually place. Whatever your mouse eDPI is, please let me know in the comment section below, I'd love to know. Next is the sound options. The top section is completely optional depending on what your sound setup is. Sound quality, this should be off as it can decrease your FPS if it is on high, as you can see right here. Visual audio should honestly be turned on as it can give you a huge advantage. Yes, it does look like a lot of clutter at the top of your screen, but when you can actually hear players healing without even seeing them or even hearing them, it's a huge advantage, and it's something you should be using like the pros like Bugger are right now. Oh, another thing, some pros do still use Windows Sound Boost, which can give you more bass on your Fortnite audio. I made a video all about it here, but here's a snippet if you want to hear what it actually sounds like. As you heard right there, it can give you somewhat of an advantage. It's something you should try out. If it works out, use it. If it doesn't, don't. But I'll leave a link to my tutorial in the description below. Next up, we've got keybinds. And for these guys, I really do need to make a separate video talking all about keybinds and how to find the best, most optimal ones. But in this video today, guys, there's one thing I highly want to recommend, and that is double movement. It's 100% allowed by Epic Games. You just need to find a free program to do it. And there's two big ones I recommend. For those that are beginners with double movement and haven't really used it before, I highly recommend using the Wooten app, which I'll leave a link to in the description below. It's super easy to set up. And for those that are not beginners or are rather advanced or pro, I highly recommend using Keys 2X input, as this will give you way more control. It's got way more options, just way more customizable, and you can also see what the pro players are using for their Keys 2X input movement on screen right here, which I'll also have a link in the description below. This one is a bit more tricky to set up, so I'll also leave my tutorial. That should be linked in the top right corner, so just go ahead and click on that one. And yeah guys, that's been all of the very best competitive settings in Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 2. If this video helped you out, then please let me know by dropping a like on the video, subscribing to the channel, and using Codelife in the Fortnite item shop. I'd appreciate that a ton. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.